we missed the Halloween season, even though we were reading the Halloween Star Trek novel this time out. But Butch and Rob are here to talk about our next Trek in Pocket novel, number 37, Bloodthirst. That's right, J.M. Dillard's back for more. So let's talk about it. But first, let's introduce the co-host, our good buddy up north in the great wet north is Rob McCullough. What do you say, Rob?
Yes, I'm up here in the great dark north. It's dark at like 4:45. It's fall has arrived here in Bellingham, Butch, and it's it's a shame we missed Halloween with perhaps a vampire adjacent book. It feels like we haven't done a Trek novel in forever, and I think that's because I am losing the ability to read. Apparently, I would read a couple chapters. 3 weeks would go by. I'd get a nagging text from my pal. It felt like a little bit of a grind, even though I enjoyed this book. So I was going
to ask that because we were making hay. We did like 4 in 2 months earlier this year, and all of a sudden it's just gonna. So give me the weather.
It's much easier for me to read in the summer in the backyard in the sun.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but in the fall and winter, I'm just like, I'll watch TV or I'll play my stupid NCAA football 2012 or I'll do anything else. But picking up a book seems like it's hard for me to do. So I apologize, Butch, but we're trekking, baby. We're back, Daddy.
That's right. And as I mentioned, this is Bloodthirst. They even, in the prologue, they even dropped the word Halloween and stuff. Oh, you're getting tricks or treats. Just like I think what is one of our favorite, one of the most highly rated of all the original Star Trek episodes, Cat's Paw. Yeah,
I believe that's everybody's top 79 anyway, yes, of the original.
Well, most of us at least. Yeah, if I remember, our co-host on the podcast, Jeremy Foreman, called it Cat's Piss, and he's not far off. I will say that. So that always, but it's written. This one is written by J.M. Dillard, who we've already done a J.M. Dillard book, and we're going to do another one, Mind Shadow, number 27. We did a few times.
Which one was that?
The one where Spock suffers a catastrophic mental injury.
He falls off a cliff or something.
Yeah, literally falls off a cliff, exactly. And then we still have Demons coming up, which feels like it could have been like another Halloween book. So maybe
that was Dillard too. I remember.
Yeah,
because weren't Demons and Battle Stations both the same?
No, that is a different author. They wrote Battle Stations and Dreadnought. So,
okay.
So yeah, I always get those confused as well. But in this case, yeah, J.M. Dillard, and I can't remember who the other one was. We'll get to it. Maybe we got a decent chance of rolling one of those two with the next book. So we'll see.
I remember reading Demons. It has a chick on the cover, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so then they also wrote Recovery, which is number 73. J.M. Dillard did, and then
I think I have one. I don't think I've read it.
Maybe, and then an Enterprise book and a couple DS9 TNG books. So they're all over the map. J.M. Dillard is. In this case, it's a novel where they have a mission to answer a distress call from the planet Tanis. I'm just going to say that's also where the Ark of the Covenant was found in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That can't be an accident, I don't think. It was consumed by a sandstorm that lasted a whole year.
I remember that. Yeah.
There's a research facility there that may or may not be used for weapons research, bioweapons research, which actually, uncover a wave of deceit and treachery within Starfleet itself. I'm going to work under the assumption that uncovering the wave of deceit within Starfleet was probably not in the mission parameters, since the mission was given to them by one of the architects of that deceit. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So that leads us to the main villain of the story. Now, I think it feels like you want to make the main villain of the story Dr. Jeffrey Adams. Is there a relation to Dr. Tristan Adams, by the way?
I was wondering.
Did you keep assuming he was talking like this, Captain, when I pour a bottle of blood, I always like to pick the favorite blood. We can all enjoy a glass of the thing that keeps us young and virile.
May your arteries never be so full.
Yes. So I mean, he was a great villain, but I think we come away from this thinking he's not necessarily the villain. He's more like the accidental vampire, you know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Who was I picturing for him? I don't know.
yeah. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
he does do a lot of villainy things, and some of which are because he can't help himself because of this disease, and some of which are just like choices, I think. But the real villain of this, when you want to go for real villains, it feels like this is not the first time we've done it. You go straight to the ambassador / admiral / commissioner class, and that in this case is Admiral Rodrigo Mendez. Yes, this is related to that other Jose Mendez from the two-parter Menagerie episode. And I don't know for any other reason other than they figure if we say Jose Mendez, you can exactly picture, Malachi Throne as that guy, and just figure him but evil this time. And we're like, yeah, I can see that. He's the architect of this bioweapon stuff. So,
and he knows from his brother that he's not going to get the death penalty no matter what he does on Tanis, because there's only one. Am I right, Butch?
As long as I don't go to Talos, I'm good, he says. And so,
yeah,
Talos and Tanis, that's right.
And he's going to drive a Taurus. I don't know. Yeah.
And so this weapons research seems to be designed to be used against the Romulans, and by the way, the Romulans at some point show up, and they are I'm going to say semi-villains in this. They're an obstruction. I don't know if they're villains necessarily. All they're doing is like trying to, hey, we heard you guys are making a woman that's going to kill us all. Well, we'd like to stop that. I don't know how that makes you a villain. It's like, it feels like you're kind of like not a villain if you're like, just don't commit genocide against us.
Maybe an antagonist a little bit.
I like that, antagonist. That's right.
You know what I thought of this book, Butch, because I did enjoy it. I don't know if you enjoyed it. And I think it's fun to take like kind of a classic myth and transport it, if you will, to the world of Star Trek. Yep. And quite often you have heard me, so I like that part. You've heard me grouse sometimes about how they'll forget the main players in the, on our crew. And sometimes they'll bring in these new characters that the author has concocted.
Yep.
And it will detract from the story. In this book, I thought the author did a really good job because it's largely centered around characters that we haven't seen before.
Right.
But they felt like real characters, and they felt like I could picture them. I cared about them, and so I thought that was one thing I wanted to mention. I thought the author did a really good job in this book of taking some characters, and I don't know if some of them have appeared in previous books, but they're not from the show. They're not from the movies, and they were not just different names I could picture these people. I understood what was going on with them, their motivations, and I quite liked it. What'd you think?
Well, I agree, and I didn't start that way in the novel. I mean, at some point I was like, oh, why are we spending time with these guys? But they kind of grew on me eventually. The last Star Trek episode I had on was Today, and I had on the episode By Any Other Name, which is with Kalinda and the Andromedans. But the one thing is there's a tall, athletic, black security guy in that episode as well. So I'm picturing that guy playing Stanger. I don't remember who that actor was who's playing Stanger, but he definitely was the one I was picturing. And you could just figure that episode was around the same time as this episode. So maybe it is the same guy. They're both security guys, right? So that's right. So we can go with that. Because what you're talking about is there's I'm going to say a throuple, although that's not exactly correct, of Jonathan Stanger. He's the security guard who's beaming down with McCoy during the first chapter. And then Ensign Lamia, she's an Andorian. That's what I like about that is you're getting little snippets of Andorian lore in there. It's like, there was some plague that caused like a drop and stuff like that. They solved the plague eventually, but by the time they did it, it changed their culture so that they have a culture built around, like loyalty and staying with the planet. So when she goes to visit Starfleet, they're like, you're out. You're cut off. We don't want you anymore, kind of a thing.
Not unlike what Spock went through with his dad a little.
Yeah, it's just a different explanation for why a different culture did that. And then the third part of that is Lisa Wen. I always like those names. Nguyen is a hard name to pronounce. I actually have a committee chair right now who's a Wen. Nguyen. It's pronounced Wen, like W-E-N or W-H-E-N. She's yet another security guard. And this is what's interesting about her. She talks about, maybe I'm going to leave the service and go live in that communal communal relationship. I don't know. Did you get the sense that there was some sort of a hippie, like polyamorous thing?
I was getting Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the novel,
right?
Vibes a little bit.
I bet that's where Dillard's getting this idea. Right, they're building on the idea that was already expounded by Roddenberry.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a sex coach like Kirk had, but. Yeah.
And then you mentioned, are any of the characters recurring from the show? The answer is no, but one is recurring from the novels because our security chief, Ingrid Thompson, the pasty, pale face, really tall, drink of water female security officer is here again. She was in Mind Shadow. She was in Doctor's Orders. She's been in multiple authors' novels, right? So she's like...
I like that. I like that. I'm getting kind of a... Not looks wise, but I'm getting like a Sigourney Weaver body type kind of vibe from her.
Oh yeah, because the height especially for sure. All right, and then the last one that's a kind of a new character that we meet a little bit. That's a new kind of like Starfleet character is Admiral Quince Waverly.
And I felt, and I don't know if it's because I remembered reading this book, but I remembered his armadillo.
Oh, I did not, but old yellow you mean?
Yeah, and I was like, I've read I didn't remember anything about this story. I remembered the armadillo.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you remember an armadillo, then you would definitely recognize when it got there. And then we get to our regular crew, and I will say that this is a McCoy-centric novel. He does get his picture on the cover of the novel, even though it's Kirk's face. I think we get more McCoy than Kirk in this novel. But you know who we should have also gotten on the cover of the novel is our dearly departed, we hardly knew you, Christine Chapel. Gee, we hardly knew you. Now you're dearly departed. Died right there in the novel. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And here's the sad thing, Rob. I'm gonna say this, and I know it's controversial, and I'm gonna say it anyway. But I'm kind of there when I'm picturing Christine Chapel in this. Now I'm picturing Jess Bush as Christine Chapel, and not Majel Barrett as Christine Chapel. Is that wrong?
No, I think if there had been some space turbulence and she had flipped over the table, which I still wish they would do a scene of that in Strange New Worlds.
Oh, no. Yes, that the one that they used like 4 times. Yeah. Yes, they must do. And it has to be a recreation of that fall. It can't just be any fall.
I need it. It seems so obvious. Yeah. It really does make me if they ever watch Star Trek, because like that would be the first thing I would write in for her. But I was kind of picturing her, and I like Chapel's kind of a weird one. She's kind of like. Do you remember the 90s Sonics, Butch?
Oh, of course I do, yes.
I know you're a Trailblazers
Gary
fan,
Payton and Sean Kemp, yeah?
Yeah, but they also had Kendall Gill, they had Detlef Schrempf.
Shrimp!
But they also had this one asshole on the team named Vincent Askew, who was like the 6th man.
Oh, no, you mean not Xavier McDaniel, but Vincent Askew, okay.
Vincent Askew was the 6th man, and he would come in and he would play about 8 minutes a game and have like no stats.
Yep.
And I was always like, why? Why are you putting him in there? I always thought, you got to give these guys breaks. I never understood why Peyton played every second and all this other stuff. But he would go there. He would be there. I knew he was a valuable part of the team, but I couldn't really articulate why that was. I kind of feel that way about Chapel. I kind of like her, but also she's kind of sometimes just like in the background.
Stokeline, why would I give him Stoke? Just do this. Just give it to him, nurse.
Yeah, I like her. I like her, but she's never been one who's in danger of cracking the starting lineup like Uhura and Sulu are. No.
Yeah. So I think that's a good analysis, and of course she doesn't get a lot of time in this, other than she's a focus as like a corpse for a lot of this, or as like we think she's a corpse, or poor Christine, we lost you, and there's nothing we can do, and then
depart. Yeah.
So I guess the hook that really got Dillard into writing this book was he was really interested in microbiology, and he wanted to come up with something where he used a little microbiology and did a bioweapons novel, and so hence the name of this. Because I was reading this and I was like, this is a guy who must be a horror writer, and he's like, I'm gonna throw in some. I'm gonna make me a gothic. I have expected, it's like. When did this Gothic cathedral arrive in the Enterprise exactly? Kind of thing. Why? At some point, I swear to God, Jeffrey Adams wears a cloak or a cape. At some point, literally is wearing a cape. I was like, okay, now this shit got real. Once the vampire's wearing an actual cape, no mirror did not appear in. I guess that's fine. But good for him. Good for Dillard for coming up with an idea of I wanted to write a novel about like a bioweapon and stuff because we've seen disease episodes a lot, right? The other episode that came on when the first one ended today is Omega Glory. By the way, I noticed that those are back-to-back episodes. By Any Other Name and Omega Glory. And then by any other name, of course, the Andromedans take all the water out of people and just turn them into these little cubes. And in the very next episode, there's a disease that takes all the water out of people and turns them into little crystals. So it's like, damn, it's really lame when those are back-to-back episodes. You don't think about it because we always watch them in just a random order, whatever order they appeared in.
What did we rank? Because I am very fond of By Any Other Name.
We have that higher than Omega Glory. I can tell you that. So
I think it's an episode that everybody likes and no one has in their top 10.
I think it's
right.
I think it's either in the 20s or it's in the it's on the high teens.
Teens, yeah. And Omega Glory is like 9/10 of a fantastic episode that just shits the ending.
Yeah, it's of all the different alternate Earths, that one's the one that is like way too on point. It's like, okay, so it's exactly the opposite, but exactly the same as well. Really, okay, it's fine.
And it's got a great villain. It's got mayhem. It's got Kirk getting his ass kicked not once but twice.
Yes,
it's really good. It's the way it's kind of like the Indianapolis speech in Jaws, where he's like,
yes.
They're talking about draining the phasers, and then by the thousands they came, and still they came, and you're just
still
like, wow,
they
God.
came. By the way, I'm going to say this. So Quince Waverly in this story, who am I picturing playing Quince Waverly in this story? It's the actor who played Ron Tracy in Omega Glory as a good guy, because he could do it. He plays Van Gelder in the crazy guy, and then he plays this guy who's a villain. I would have liked to see him get a chance to play the good guy in a Star Trek episode. A big guy who you can see being a mentor and stuff like that.
He was a tremendous guest actor on Star Trek that I think it's overlooked. He was tremendous.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that, by the way.
In both roles.
Yep. And that's why when you do two roles and you nail them both and you're memorable from both, because when you do two roles, you want one of them to be forgettable. It's like, okay, so I'm looking at you. What's her face? Who played Dr. Miranda Jones, and then also Anne Mulhall in the other episode. It's like that one of those is more memorable than the other. And
she did like a whole season of Next Generation. I still don't remember.
It's funny that there are people that are dedicated fans to her Next Generation character. I was like, good for you. I mean, it takes all kinds of stuff. If that's your favorite character, I guess. But
yeah, she's kind of interesting in Is There in Truth No Beauty? But she's so cold, though. Something about her, it just seems. But for that part, that's good.
Yeah, she was designed to be cold, so it was good that she was playing cold in that one. Yeah.
I kind of picture Michael Douglas as Quince.
I can see that too. Yes, for sure. Especially older Michael Douglas. That's right.
Not now.
Yeah.
Not
like
today.
Not like ancient Michael Douglas, but older Michael Douglas. So, yeah.
But like Basic Instinct Michael Douglas. That era.
Interesting.
I don't know about that character, but that kind of.
Interesting. Yeah, because he's a guy who's kind of an admiral, but not an out-to-pasture admiral, right? He's an admiral who still had some sea legs left, but they bumped him up too soon. Just like we're going to see happen to Kirk in a couple of years, right?
He's got some renegade in him, he's, yeah.
Yep. So, all right. So, all of this.
You're still willing to sleep with the chick, even though everybody's telling you. I'm pretty sure she kills all her boyfriends. It'll be fine. That's kind of the vibe I was getting from him.
All right. So then maybe the other thing is, again, Sulu not much, Uhura not much, Scotty not much. Chekhov does spend a lot of time with doing the same thing as Sulu, but he's got the whole vampire, and I got the crucifix and stuff like that. Protecting myself from the vampires. Vampires invented in Russia and stuff like that. So.
Did he actually say? I don't remember. Did he say the vampires were invented in Russia?
No, he didn't. But he did say vampire, though. He did say vampire.
Yeah, well, they should have. George Michael doesn't appreciate that either, but
Okay.
they should have done a little joke there but he played it a little too straight with the I'm terrified of a vampire and I'm wearing a crucifix.
Yeah, you don't fuck with the Romanians. I guess that's on the other side of the Carpathian Mountains from Russia, but it's pretty close. I mean, it's kind of almost shares a border. Romania does and stuff like that. So, yeah. So anyway, I do think we can talk about this. We should probably talk about this before we get to final results. Although I will say, I came at the end of the book. I liked it better than I did at the start of the book. I will say that. I think the story grew on me. I wasn't sure where they were going with it, but I was like, this is too gothic and too horror. But then they totally brought it back to the sci-fi thing and did a good job. Because, again, microbiology, not mythology. So,
yeah.
So I thought that.
No, I liked it. I kind of, at the end, and I do have some quibbles with this book, but they kind of, with the, I want to make a weapon. I was kind of getting a RoboCop in Into Darkness vibes guy a little bit, like like, hey,
interesting.
I'm gonna go rogue a little bit and spring this. I'm not gonna create a giant starship or anything, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, something where it's like somewhere weapons division, but something slightly different. And we do get a little bit of what his motivation is. He has double motivation. Well, he has a dead son and a dead wife. The Romulans killed one of them, and we're about to see the end of the other one because that's where the prologue starts.
Yeah.
So the prologue starts with a guy named Yoshi, who we will learn later is Admiral Mendez's son, who took mom's name instead of dad's name, which is, and again, more of the whole how exactly do marriage relationships work in the 23rd century? We don't know. In the original series, we never dealt with married people in the original series. I guess we almost got a marriage, right? The Balance of Terror didn't quite happen, so we didn't get to now pronounce you man and wife kind of a thing. By the way, I realized my daughter got married last weekend, and I don't believe we heard them. Now I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Glessner or whatever. They didn't do that because I don't think either of them changed their names, so they just leave that part out, right? So, so that's interesting. But that's neither here nor there. So the prelude starts with this guy Yoshi who's decided to kill someone, a girl named Laura. Apparently, he's a bit messed up. He's got a dry mouth, insomnia. Laura is maybe his wife, or maybe wishes his wife. He feels forced to kill and then to die, but we don't really know why. And why is he quoting Dracula exactly? And then I get an A plus B plus C equals he's probably not thirsty for White Claw, but then again, who is? So I don't know. And that's our prelude. So basically, there's two deaths right there. One of them might have already happened and stuff like that. It's all very, like I said, the Dracula quote seems a little bit too on point, but that's okay.
A little heavy-handed to start, I'll give you that. But it is also like we're not screwing around here either.
Yeah, the stakes are right up there up front.
Well put, the stakes. Yeah, I like that.
All right, so chapter 1 has Bones. Apparently, Bones doesn't like technology. Film at 11. Leonard McCoy, not a fan of technology or transporters, as it were. And yet he's beaming down with this guy, Stanger, who's a security guard, into the dark, which is extra creepy. And they're in a pathology lab, which McCoy calls it a hot lab, which means it's a lab that's dealing with dangerous things. And they're like, are we sufficiently protected to all this, Stanger says? And you're like, yeah. They have something that they use in the animated series, which is force fields.
I thought of that.
And
I did think of that.
The force fields are probably better than the suits that don't actually seal completely, or that you can take the glove off and scratch your nose or whatever.
Yeah, don't take the glove off. Just don't do it.
Yeah. If you hear that sound, you done wrong, buddy. But Stanger and McCoy are wearing the force field suits, and so they're presumably protected from what's ever in there. They're stepping over each other in the dark. And they don't know where to go. Stanger says, hey, isn't it about October 31st in the old calendar? Well, albeit it is Halloween. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, because we always wonder when we're doing these things, are people still going to be doing like 20th century things in the 23rd century?
Oh, they're playing bingo. I learned that.
It feels like Halloween's something that's so big now, it's just not going to go away, right? Even if the religious overtones of any of it go away, you're still dressing up for at least the...
They're doing Thanksgiving on the Enterprise.
Yeah, the chemistry lab Christmas party, right? So you telling me they don't have a Halloween party? Tricks or treats. I know that when they do, they hang up a skeleton. The skeleton is one of those that's in the classroom. It has a little hinge for the brain thing to come out, just like the one in Cat's Paw. Oh, that's yikes. Never going to forgive that episode, man. All right, so Stanger finds a body, 2 bodies, in fact, a man and a woman. She's dead, and so's he, but he's still warm, right? So we don't know exactly what happened there.
She's what, Butch?
She gone.
Thank you.
All right, I was going to say, she dead, Jim.
No, I would have given you one more chance if you said she dead, Jim, which I thought you might say. But I was thinking she go.
I know, that's right, exactly. So Starfleet calls in. Kirk says that they're. Hey, by the way, Starfleet just called. Captain says that you are not to respond to a distress signal if you get it. We're like, well, put a bookmark in that. We're here already.
And what's the name of the dead girl?
Her name is Lara.
Lara.
I was thinking Lara Palmer, but it's from Twin Peaks. But it's
about Lara from Dr. Zhivago.
Oh, there you go. That's also
the beautiful Julie Christie. How about that?
So let's see. So Bones and Stanger find a third person down there alive, Dr. Jeff Adams, who almost immediately collapses in this. Something clearly wrong with Dr. Jeffrey Adams. Back on the ship, Bones says that there's blood missing without explanation from one of the murder victims. Spock concludes, well, somebody obviously removed the blood, and then go ahead. I'm wondering whether he's read the book Dracula. Spock has, because he seems to maybe have read it.
I mean, I think if Spock can quote Macbeth backwards and forwards, he's read Dracula. I'm surprised no one thought of the cloud creature as a possibility.
Yes, exactly. Dichoronium, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, let's see. So they beam up they bring up vampire lore, bats and monsters, and strangely enough, Adams shares some vampire sensitivities. It's like, well, we got the room dim because he's sensitive to light. Well, vampires are sensitive to light. So readers who know what's going on, right? It's like you're already putting the piece together.
I'm wishing they could have a cameo by Dr. Helen Newell doing the Lucy role, just writhing around, aching. That would have been cool.
Yes. By the way, I have to tell you, I'll send you a picture later. But Libby, for her wedding, she had the tight collar and stuff like that, and the red hair. She got her hair dyed red and had it up in a bun. She looks very Lucy from Lucy in some of the scenes from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Her hair does.
Look.
Yeah, it's a good look. For a different reason than we were thinking, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks
she does dress like a bride, in that movie, I suppose, an undead bride. That scene, the crypt scene, is still one of the great scenes of all time.
I don't even know who that chick was, but she was tremendous.
I do not know the name of the actress. It's funny, but yeah, you're exactly right. Made an impression. So,
yes.
So they have been told, look, so maybe some of this research might have been a bioweapon, maybe disease. They're supposed to take Adams to Starbase 13, but he's clearly hiding something. He's looking unwell, has nothing good or helpful to say to them. He's just he's an enigma wrapped in a riddle inside of a mystery.
I'm picking Nicolas Cage as
I like
this
it.
guy.
I do like it, absolutely. So now, Chapter 2, Kirk speaks on subspace with Admiral Mendez. He knows Commodore Mendez and has never actually spoken to his older brother, the Admiral. Jose is the Commodore. And what do we say? The Admiral's name is Rodrigo. That's right. And he tells him about the genetically engineered virus, but the records have been lost. There's something about a computer virus that deleted everything when Spock did it, which is kind of a thing ahead of its time. But
I didn't like how Dillard. Is Dillard a woman?
I don't know. I that's a good question. I don't know the answer.
I always fall for the, whenever it's the initials. I guess I'm a sexist. I do always think it's a guy, even though usually it's a woman using initials for that reason. But I'm talking to you, DC Fontana. But yeah. I thought I like the charming villain much more than the obvious villain right out of the gate who never wavers from being a dick villain. And this guy was kind of a dick villain right from the go.
Absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Have him be nice to Kirk. Have him be friendly. Oh yeah, But no, he's just an asshole he's like a jerk boss right out of the gate.
And I suppose it helps you orient yourself to make sure, or if you're going to like surprisingly later on, like Robert Foxham, it's like, I'm not a fighter, but I am a quick learner kind of a thing. Oh, he's going to join the good guys now. Look at him. Papa J, suddenly a good guy. All right. Look at there. Gene Calagrides is J.M. Dillard. So the answer is Jean, Jeanne. She's a woman.
Okay.
Not that it mattered. It's fine either way, but credit.
No, it is. Due. I just was curious, but I'm glad it wasn't Jean, because then I still wouldn't have known.
Jean. So the Americans have been lost. McCoy speculates that Starfleet may be doing weapons research on Tanis, and you're like, no way, they wouldn't do that. Everything has got to be kept quiet. They're told not to let anything leak to the Klingons or Romulans, because obviously they would both be mad about the research and probably want to steal the research and stuff like that. And then they're examining atoms, and in the dark, because it's too dark, it's too bright in there. He jokes about being 1,000 years old and from Transylvania. Again, a little too on point, I think, right?
Yeah.
Maybe at this point, he knows he's got something that's akin to that, and he's like whistling through the graveyard about, yeah, I'm in pretty tough shape. I'm a vampire. Yeah.
He was in rough shape. Yeah, he was.
And so then we're gonna then we get to meet our new crew, Ensign Lamia and Lieutenant Ingrid Thompson. We've already met Thompson in other books. Lamia is an Andorian security guard, and then we also learned a little bit more about Stanger, who was the guy on that mission with McCoy. Stanger was the chief of security on the USS Columbia, but he got busted for some reason, and now he's an ensign again on the Enterprise. But we don't know why yet. But we're gonna learn. I don't know if we're going to think it's a great backstory, but it's a backstory.
It's a backstory, and for some reason he's getting kind of treated. He's a little bit of an outcast aboard the Enterprise, a little bit ostracized, a little bit. And
he is an outcast and ostracized, and he's a bit of a guy who can't stay focused or makes bad decisions, interpersonal bad decisions and stuff like that, and that's probably okay. I do like when characters have flaws, right? It's like, well, why would you do something like? Why would you be like that? The answer is because not everybody's perfect, right? So he's an imperfect character, and I think,
and they did that with Kirk, Bones, and Spock. I mean, they did that in Star Trek, which I really liked.
Absolutely, that gives characters realism if they're not like always perfect and always right.
Yeah.
So now Stanger and Lamia are charged of beaming down again with McCoy. They're going to take pictures and do all this stuff while McCoy goes and tries to find some stuff in the laboratory. And I will say that it's not a meet cute between these two, Lamia and Stanger. They don't get along for whatever reason. And a lot of it comes out because Stanger keeps calling her ensign. And we learn, if you're the same rank, you don't call somebody by their rank. You say their name, right? And she's like, we're the same rank. What are you doing calling me ensign? Because he's used to not being an ensign, right? He wasn't an ensign. He was a lieutenant. And she doesn't know that.
She's bristling 12 seconds into their getting to know each other. I mean, It's like he showed up and was like, "Hey, Toots." I mean, she's like, "I don't like you."
Yeah, it only takes one bad impression to really kind of set
Hey,
the
little
whole.
lady, how can I help? Wrong answer.
Yeah, you'd be pretty if you smiled once in a while, and if you put your antennas forward instead of backward once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Bones does some light contortion and gets stuck in a contamination chamber. Meanwhile, Stanger finds a drinking glass that has blood in it on the bottom. Well, that's fun.
I wonder what they're getting at here.
Yeah, it's kind of they're not really explaining it. So Bones is stuck in this undignifying position, and he says, "Stop laughing, or your next exam will be a painful one," which I think is funny.
A little too close to my prostate procedure for that joke.
This is not the best McCoy novel that we've read, but Dillard's doing a pretty decent job with making McCoy seem like our regular Bones guy. And it was all for empty vials because you got contorted and went in there and there's no samples to be found. Which Admiral Mendez nonplussed. He's disbelieving. He's dismissive. He's very admiral-like, right? He's like, you guys don't know how you do your doctor doesn't know how to do your job, and we all know McCoy's the best doctor in the fleet. He doesn't know how to do his job.
You just don't, you don't criticize the Enterprise crew. They're the best crew in the fleet. I've heard it every other episode, and I'm all in. I'm on Team Enterprise. Who's this guy think he is?
Absolutely. So Adams is death warmed over meanwhile, and Kirk tells him about the blood in the drinking glass, and maybe he's guilty or maybe he's not. He blames Yoshi for it. He says, "Yeah, Yoshi killed her or whatever." I don't know, but and I was like, "Yeah, he's Tristan Adams level sketchy," is what I'm saying. He's earning that Adams name right there. He's now Tristan Adams is a cool cucumber, but when it became obvious that he was doing wrong, he was. You could tell just how sketchy he was, and it feels like we've jumped into he's just like. We don't have questions about it. We just know he's a bad guy at this point.
This guy's sus as hell, as the kids would say.
Sus, I love it, yes. All right, so then we meet another one, Lisa Wen. She's Ensign Lamia's roommate and also transition buddy, because Lamia's new to the Enterprise. And so Wen's the kind of person who's like, helping you. I'm going to give you just ask me if you have any questions and I'll introduce you around. And,
I like this. What was that program they used to do in schools? You'd have like an older kid. Remember that? You'd have like a 6th grader and an 8th grader. Yeah. It'd be like a buddy.
A buddy system, yes, exactly.
And I like that the Enterprise has something like that. I do like those kinds of little nuggets.
My very first year of college, my dorm did Big Brothers Little Sisters with another.
Okay.
It was supposed to be every year, and then we never did it again. It was like the last year that my school ever did or whatever. Which was,
why didn't they do it?
I don't know. It seemed like a nice thing to do, but it only, like I said, only lasted 1 year as far as I know, alas.
Huh.
And so now, having met Lisa, now we're going to have Stanger and Lamia and Lisa all get together, and they're all security guards working under the boss, who they don't really like, Ingrid Thompson, Lieutenant Thompson. She's looking she's looking for a second in command. And that's setting, and I put parentheses, setting the drama for the rest of the book is like, who will get the second in command? Are they vying for it? Are they competing for it? It seems like nobody's really competing for it. She needs one, and they're all just like fighting. No, it shouldn't be me. I shouldn't be the one, kind of a thing.
That was kind of a curious choice.
Yeah. So let's see, where else are we? Oh, Christine Chappell, helping out Dr. Adams in the med bay. And he's feeling defeatist and fatalist. So I'm just gonna die anyway. What's the point? And did she make him plomeek soup or something like that? It feels like she brings him. I'm just picturing in my brain her bringing him a big bowl of purple soup, a big purple bowl of soup.
Picturing a tomato soup.
It could be. It makes more sense because he's not a Vulcan, right? Although red soup would be fitting with the color scheme, wouldn't it? So
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Maybe it's like Suspiria red. Did we do Suspiria?
We have not done Suspiria. No.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay, we haven't. We've done some Argento movies, but not Suspiria.
Maybe we did do Suspiria. No, Phenomena is the one we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, she shuts down the protection field and gets sapped for her trouble. Rookie mistake. he saps her, and then we're going to see that he holds the unconscious Chapel and touches, and I've cut her. The back of her head must have gotten cut on this table. File that away because blood has made contact. He has made contact with her blood, and now she's in trouble.
Can you make the sound one more time?
What sound is that?
The your blood got infected sound.
I don't.
No, it was that rattly sound.
Oh yeah, that's right. The wiping your hands on the sweaty. Yeah, I forgot about that. The kind that kills you if you stab yourself with a butter knife. That kind. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who's just
Joe Tormolin. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the great speech he gave, but it's like, what good are we doing out here?
What's the point? We're not meant to be out here. Yeah, I'm meant to be living in a crypt under the ground, sleeping in my own country's dirt every night. That's what I'm meant to be doing.
Well, the difference is that guy had no will to live, and Adams definitely is not lacking in that department.
Yep, absolutely for sure. All right, so McCoy then is talking. Thinks Adams is suffering from paranoia, and but they think something sketchy about this whole bioweapons thing. So he's like, "Hey, Captain, you got friends in high places. Why don't you lean on some? Reach out to some of your buddies at Starfleet Command there, and figure out if you can figure out what's going on." So
some of this stuff felt very cinematic because you could picture it, and it is something you would see in a movie. Like, oh yeah, and if you see that in a movie, the guy's toast.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, so he reached out and he calls his buddy Quince Waverly. Now, if it was a movie, what we know from how they've done in the movies is that one of the directors or producers would be the admiral on the other end of the phone, right? So Rick Berman or whoever would be the admiral on the other end of the phone. He's a ladies' man, a former captain, and a Kirk mentor, it seems. Kirk fills him in and asks him to investigate. And then we get a little detail that's another little detail about how J.M. Dillard is trying to fill in. How do relationships work in the 23rd century? It's like, yeah, the wife decided not to renew the contract. I was like, so marriages are on like a 5-year rolling contract or whatever.
Well, I always remember, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but yeah. I always remember that marriage contract stuff, and it always seemed like it made sense. Yeah. Like, I could see that being a thing in the future. And I don't know about having to renew every 2 years. That's like the House of Representatives. That's too frequently.
You ought to be on the senator system and not on the representative system.
Yeah. Give me a chance to make a couple mistakes. Boy, I mean 2 years you're immediately running for re-election. I mean
that's exactly right. You're constantly on the edge, right? Yeah, you don't want to be there.
Yeah, but I wonder if this is the book that started that because I felt like that was like a part of. We talk about some things that we've always taken for granted that they're part of Star Trek lore, and they were never in the show or in the novels.
It is interesting how often we come up against that. What episode is that from? It's from the novels. It's not from an episode. That's right. So there's a couple of things we learned about Quince. Besides these men and all that stuff, we learned he's got a stuffed armadillo named Yeller. And he promises not to get in trouble. And as you said, we already know what this means. He's toast. Yep.
Yeah. Hope you're filling out your will, pal.
That's right. And you're like, he shouldn't be toast because it should be pretty safe to be an admiral at Starfleet Command. But who do you want to meet? All right. So let's see. So now, Chapter 5, we get Lamia's backstory while she's sitting on an observation deck. Her family's abandoned her when she signed up for Starfleet. The Federation, we get a little Federation world building. We get the whole idea about that plague that sterilized a lot of the women in their culture, and so they had to restructure their civilization. And now that they've fixed the plague, they've stuck with the restructuring of familial relationships and things like that.
Who did you picture for this?
Who did I picture for this? It's weird. You want to know who I pictured? It's completely out of nowhere, but there's an actress who was in the Star Trek Acolyte series who played a white-faced Jedi with kind of like white hair. And so I pictured her, but it's strange because that actress was like just in something else too. So,
I think I watched a couple episodes of The Acolyte. The problem was I didn't have HBO at the time when it was hot. Now I could go back and watch it. I just haven't. I was kind of picturing. Now this would require some makeup. but with the kind of waifish look. I'm taking like Pirates of the Caribbean era Keira Knightley.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that'll do, because you need like the really thin wayfish, tall.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, she's smoking hot. So
yeah. Well, this actress in this case, who played this character, is Daphne Keane.
Hold over this way a little. Oh, she's cute. Yeah.
And like I said, she has dark hair there, but in that Star Trek or that Star Wars series, she had very pale skin and white hair, kind of a thing. So the white hair probably is why I thought of it, right? Because Andorians generally have that mop of white hair.
Do you remember Hellboy 2?
Vaguely.
Which was a great movie. I loved Hellboy 2, but the whatever Elf King or whoever the hell, there was like the twins, and the guy was a master swordsman or whatever, but he was a bad guy. But the girl was this albino looking beautiful. I mean, she would have done okay in that role too.
Oh sure, yeah. We have a lot of different options. Turns out Hollywood's full of attractive young ladies and men, so it's great.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like a more than the general population.
Yeah. So they are. Meanwhile, they're still taking Adams to Starbase 9 as they've been ordered, and they realize that Chapel's tested positive for the disease. They're joking about turning her into a vampire, but it is very dire and serious, and they know that. And then they get to Starbase 9 and they go down, and it turns out Mendez has beaten them there and is waiting for them. So clearly he's got some sort of connection to really fast ships, and they're probably not traveling at Warp 8 anyway.
The guy is, or he might have just beamed over from Jupiter. But the guy's acting a little fishy. I'm getting some red flags a little bit from this.
Now, I will say this. This is where we learned that he has motivation because Yoshi, one of the two that died on Tanis, was his son. We learned that here. So you're like, I can understand why he'd have a vested interest in revenge or retribution or whatever if his son was the one who got killed or whatever.
Yeah, I just thought it was too obvious that he's a bad guy.
Yeah. And then at some point he has a kind of a, they're not looking at each other, but they're in the same room conversation with Adams, and Adams is like, well, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, you can threaten me all you want, but no matter what you do, you're a dead man, says the Admiral to you. And you're like,
yeah. And then he goes, did he sound anything like this? And you throw him right off.
He's in the car, if you're wondering. That's where he's at.
Yeah.
Well done. And then the chapter 6 opens with maybe my favorite little detail from this. Spock is remembering attending a tennis match at Wimbledon.
That was awesome.
And here I'm going, I was sure he'd be a clay court guy. Sure he'd be a clay. You see a lot of lawn tennis on Vulcan, do you? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Spock would be a great tennis. Tennis seems like that would be a Vulcan. That's a natural. I mean, They would all be great. Dude, they would all be great. They're all long and lean.
Who are you casting to play the Vulcan tennis player, Rob? Come on. Who are you casting?
He wears funny hats. He goes by the name Yvonne Lendl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the obvious one. He's halfway there already.
That's probably why I liked Lendl. I did get a Spock vibe from him. Very stoic.
Right. So Spock suspects there was work on 2 viruses, one human, the H-type, and one Romulan, the R-type. One researcher, CPEC, died during this. There may be clues down there. His body's left below. Maybe they could, and then he gets into the whole, stuff that we know, but Kirk and those people don't know yet, which is the Katra stuff. Well, maybe
we're retconning a little bit.
Yeah, we're retconning a little bit, but that's okay because it's a secret that you don't tell outsiders. Just we want to recover the body if at all possible. And he cooks up a reason. By the way, we have a reason why we want to see the body because we want to know if there's evidence of this thing, right? It just so happens I'll just pull out the Katra.
And I'm okay with some retconning. I don't know if I'm okay with and now Spock has a sister we've never heard of after he had a brother we never heard of. That might be a jump of the shark a little. But I was okay. I was okay with the Katra business.
Are you just like me, or did you just want to see the young Vulcan priestess that Sarah had a relationship with? I've seen the Vulcan
Doesn't
priestesses from a distance, and I want to know what a main character Vulcan priestess would be like. That's what I'm
the
saying.
ones in Star Trek 3 got my attention.
That's all I'm saying. We're on the same page then. Yes. So then our threesome, Wen and Stanger and Lamia are going to do a little R&R on Starbase 9, which is a planet, of course. So they're down on the planet at a bar doing bourbon shots or whatever. And Lamia is like, I'm not going to get drunk. I took a pill, and and she's going to get drunk. Well, and then they Wen kind of maybe sees that the two of them are developing a relationship and kind of like makes her exit out of there so that she won't be the third wheel in this thing. And
I was getting a little cock block vibe on this one, and rightly so, because this had all the earmarks of escalating into something, and probably neither one of them intended, but it was headed that way.
So Wen, of course, goes outside and does swamp walking, which is what one does when you're trying not to cock. You go from cock blocking to swamp walking and stuff like that. And so she trips over a body. And it turns out that it's a body that we had a reason to believe there because we saw Adams break out of the facility, and Adams then met some woman out there and killed the woman. I at first thought he had met Wen out there, but he killed a different woman, and then Wen comes across the body of the dead woman, is what it is.
Yeah, another guy who I thought could have played Adams, and I did think this while I was reading it, do you remember when Anthony Perkins was in Edge of Sanity? Did you ever see that one?
I've not seen that.
That is like a Jekyll and Hyde movie. But he looked so pale, so sick.
He could be very gaunt, so I think that's a good choice for gaunt, right? Exactly.
And he was batshit crazy, so I think that would have been a good one.
Well, he could play he could definitely play what's the guy's name what's Dracula's human?
Oh, Renfield.
He could play Renfield in this, if nothing else. There you go. Thank you. Boy, I don't know why. I just watched that like a week and a half ago. Why did I forget it already? It's fine.
I worked too much during October. I watched like 3 horror movies, period, and like 2 Hitchcock movies. That's it. I mean, it was a terrible October.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like Halloween time, did it? So, so then after she trips over the dead body, she finds out who killed him. It's Adams. Adams is down there and basically kind of like strong arms Lisa into, you're going to call the Enterprise. You're going to say, you beam me up. I need to beam something directly to my quarters, and it's going to be me. It basically is how it's going to be. So he's very threatening and a little bit vampiric, and so there's that. Meanwhile, Mendez has to call Kirk and say, yeah, the guy escaped my clutches. Yeah, that's a call that a-hole Mendez didn't want to make. I'm sorry, that Papa J. Mendez didn't want to make.
Papa J. Mendez. Yeah. By the way, is Kyle ever going to make the right call in a Star Trek anything? I mean, the guy just screws up left and right. He really does.
My job is to pull these 3 levers down or push these 3 levers up. That's all I know.
Yeah, I shouldn't do this, but I'll make an exception. Bad idea.
Yeah, so then it's weird because so they find out that Lammy and Stanger find out that Wen's back up on the ship and she might be in a little bit of trouble because of some of the shenanigans. And then there's a weird moment where Lamia seems to be like, oh yeah, we're kind of like, we're a thing now a little bit. I'm leaning on you, Stanger. And he's like, he kind of pulls away from her when she starts to get a little physical. And you're like, what the fuck is going on, dude? What's your problem? Is it because she's blue? Wonder if she's blue all over. I don't know, whatever. But we learned that he has trust issues with women that he's involved in. Right. So, and that's a little understandable. I don't think that came through until I'm like doing my notes, and I was like, oh, that's probably what it was. It's just like his trust issues related to his last relationship, which we're going to learn about in a few more chapters.
Yeah, I don't know if they really landed the plane on this little story. I mean, I know they're giving him backstory and stuff, but I was like, yeah.
Well, then Lamia goes to her quarters, kind of miffed, and she shares quarters with Lisa Wen, and there's Lisa Wen unconscious on the couch with the blood on her throat, and you're like, dum dum dum. I put 3 exclamation points in parentheses. That's dum dum dum. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we get our next conversation between Kirk and Quince, talking about the virus. It could be Romulan origin, or it could be designed to be used against Romulans. Quince, accuses Kirk of being a little bit paranoid. And then they learn that Adams is on board, and it's like, well, maybe this less paranoid than you think you were. Everybody thinks they're paranoid until there's a killer on the ship.
Well, and what do we know is that it's for as big of a ship and as many people in a city in space as the Enterprise is, it is not hard to hide there. You just find a red mesh screen to stand behind. You're good.
There's so many red mesh screens around there, and shadows. It's like over there where that light's purple, and then there's a shadow. You just stand by the purple shadow. That's what you do.
Well, and you got some of those season 1 episodes where there's just, hustle and bustle. But whenever a prisoner goes out in the hallway, there's nobody.
Yeah, listen. The rule of thumb is, listen, if 40% of your face or more is in shadow, you're good. Okay, so they'll never see you. They'll never see you, even though it's bright as hell.
Chameleon, yeah.
So Chapel's in a coma and declining, and McCoy has no answers. Bones tells Lamia that she's probably immune to the disease because she's an Andorian, and she's grieving for her friend Lisa, of course. And
what I like about this stuff, though, Butch, is we have seen. It feels like an episode where there's a disease, we gotta solve it fast. That feels very Star Trek.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Race against the clock,
And to that end, Spock comes and visits McCoy, and he says, I need to ask a favor. And McCoy's like, oh, this is a historical occasion. And he's like, well, there's a few things I need to work on, and also Anne. And you're like, what do you mean? And historical. I love that. My wife has always trained me. It's and historical, right? Not a. So, and it reminds me of in that one time when Spock tells one of the gangsters, "Sir, you are employing a double negative." He's like, "What?" And he just moves on. It's like, grab her police and then move on. I love it. That's so Spock.
Yeah, Spock's great. I do wish we had gotten more Spock, but the Spock we got felt. In character.
Yeah, we were Spock blocked as well. I guess that's true. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And then at the end of the chapter, we learn that Chapel's brainwaves are down to 0, and she dead. She gone.
And that surprised me a little bit. And then I was like, "Am I not getting enough sleep?" Duh. She's undead, dummy. Yeah, for a second, I was like, "What?" And
she's the devil's concubine. Yeah, maybe not so much.
Butch Hopkins here. All right,
yeah,
Sir Butch Hopkins.
I guess I don't know what color. I don't know what color Chapel hair goes with the devil's concubine, but it's pink or gray or white. We know it's one of those. So
as though she's tripping over the crypt, I'm good.
That's right. All right. So now Adams is on the loose, searching for victims, needing of blood. And he goes through a list of names of people who have his blood type, and one of those names is Stanger, and so that we kind of are going to draw a conclusion on that. They move the late Christine Chapel down to they're mourning her, and we learn that Wen and Lamia have both tested negative, so they're not infected. And that's where, and then we get to this whole drama about we need a second shift, a second in command and in security. I don't know if this is drama or if it's just like whatever. That's when Sulu and Chekhov are on the bridge listening to Scuttlebutt and talking vampires up there. Chekhov shows off his crucifix.
Not to be confused with Fuzzy Butt.
Fuzzy Butt, that's right. Oh, yes. So Scuttlebutt and Fuzzy Butt are two different things, although, they can be involved, but they're not necessarily.
Oh, that has to live in Star Trek novel infamy, doesn't it?
Yes, that's the worst. I still can't believe they went there. I don't remember which novel it was because I think the therapy's finally working. So all of this says that then we see Stanger. He wakes up at 6:10. He's exhausted. Didn't get a lot of sleep, and something about it. I'm going to have to remind my roommate to make sure the door gets locked. I'm thinking Shaun of the Dead, and the front door's left open again.
Well, you think they'd have something worked out, a necktie, something.
A necktie. There's no doorknobs. I don't know where that necktie is supposed to go. There's not a doorknob.
What about a clip-on? Like pin the tail on the donkey or something.
I'll pin the tail on the donkey. That's great. All right. So
Or,
now,
a sign that says stangin' and bangin'. That you, you write on a Post-it note, stick it outside the door for,
all right.
some indication.
There has to be something, right? Surely that many ensigns and that many cadets coming out, living in that many dorm rooms would have come up with something by now. So now we get the Quince Waverly chapter where he goes to the office and his regular staff, Rhonda, isn't there. Rhonda, where's Rhonda? He calls around. Rhonda, he calls some other admiral's office. Rhonda, why are you working down there? And they're like, yeah, she asked for a transfer. And then he finds out that she tells him that she was told that Quince asked for her to be transferred. And he's like, what's going on? Neither of us asked for this. We're both told the other person asked for it. This is exactly how HR works. That's why HR is a good villain.
It's crappy foreshadowing.
It is.
Right? It's too obvious to work as part of the cover-up.
Yep.
But I guess, you got to dumb it down for the reader here. I wasn't crazy about that little tidbit. But
no, this whole one is a little bit forgetful for me because then, transporters are down around Starfleet Command, so going to have to take a skimmer. So he gets in a skimmer, and the skimmer is like, well, looks like we're going to die now. I'm sure glad I recorded that message and put it in my armadillo for Kirk. Basically, that's what happened. And gosh, we hardly got to know you, Quince Waverly, and now you're worm food, you're fish.
It was a little, but that was a scene that felt like a movie.
Yeah.
And because they had humanized Quince a little bit with the armadillo and some of this stuff and the, custody of the kids 6 months a year, whatever, it actually was a little surprising for, like, oh, they killed that guy, even though it was obviously you knew he was still like he felt like a character we knew a little bit, even though what did he add a couple pages of
maybe
screen time,
10, 12 pages at most. Yeah, exactly. So now we're back on the ship, and Bones is still sad about Chapel. He remembers the first time they met and they shared bourbon, and he wonders why he never put the old Southern charm on her, and they're like, because you two were never meant to be together. That's why, which is interesting. So then in comes Spock. And he realizes the Spock is actually also probably needs to grieve a little bit. So they bond a little bit I do like when Spock and McCoy bond over stuff like this, right? It's like shared losses and shared fears and stuff like that. So
was there in this scene with Kirk and McCoy, or maybe I'm thinking of a different scene. Was there Sorry and Brandy?
That's coming later.
Because I just want to make this point about Sorry and Brandy. Yep. I am sad that they got away from Sorry and Brandy in Star Trek and went full Romulan ale. Yeah. I like Romulan ale stuff, but Sorry and Brandy, it seems classier. It's got a cool, give me the brand, there's like, maybe Kirk swore off Sorry and Brandy after that episode. I don't know, that could be.
It's funny because in Discovery, we get an actual Saurian member of the bridge crew.
Oh.
So... they totally could have brought it back because there's one. He's a lizard dude, right? So, very, very Saurian, as it were. Saurian.
Well, you get the cool flask that it's in. Yeah. It's cool. Romulan ale is one thing, but it's always like, oh God, I can barely drink this stuff.
Did I tell you I made a brain hemorrhage shot for myself on Halloween and I used the blue Romulan ale we got.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
was it good?
It calls for vodka. Yeah, so it was delightful. Yeah, was it good? It tasted good. Was it texturally good? It's curdled. It's got curdled Irish cream in it on purpose to make it look like a brain hemorrhage. So it didn't go down really smooth, as it were, but it tasted pretty good.
You got to really chew your drink. But,
yeah, that's literally it. I'm going.
I've been on a kick this fall of when we go out, which is not often, but every week and a half.
Yeah.
I've been on an old fashioned kick, so I'll get an old fashioned. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever enjoyed an old fashioned, but I like the idea. It's probably from Mad Men because Don Draper drank those all the time. Yeah. But they got the orange. It looks like they put some work into crafting the thing, and then it's pure battery acid when you drink them. So every time I have an old fashioned, I do the Clint Eastwood like, and then I will say to Darlene, "Do you want to try my drink?" And then she will almost pass out from the sip. It's pretty funny. We did that yesterday. I got an old fashioned. It damn near killed her.
Yeah. See, my wife goes with something that's akin to that, a whiskey sour, which is which is 2 parts sweet and sour to 1 part whiskey. That's the ratio is the right way on that one, I think, right? It can you mostly just get a little bit of the aftertaste, where if it's the other way around with mostly whiskey and a slight amount of it, you just don't get enough juice, and it's like it's a little bad.
Yeah. Well, when you have an old fashioned, you don't taste the second old fashioned. I mean, you taste the first one, but everything else is flavorless the rest of the night because you've killed everything. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, all that being said, for both cases, yours was because it's nostalgic, and for me, the brain hemorrhage shot was because it looks cool in a photo, and I wanted to try making one. So, but we digress. Kirk leans on Thompson to name a second command because you can't think of somebody else. Stanger's right there. He's been a chief of security before. Just name him, get it over with. You don't have a better idea, just do it. And then he waits for word from San Francisco, from Quince, and he does get some. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Getting too hot to breathe. So he's like, oh, he must be onto something. But we don't know. Kirk doesn't know. What we know is just he's already dead, right? We just know they got the message. He said that he had sent him. And then Stanger shows up to security, says he's just fine. She's like, you look a little sick. I'm fine. And then he immediately passes out. So not fine, because we suspect he's been getting visited at night by the resident vampire. So yes, he's Lucy in this story. In other words,
he's been oversleeping. Whatever. Remember that Riker episode where he was having the nightmares, and then come to find out he's getting experimented on every night.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's actually a couple episodes to which that description could apply, but I think you're talking about the one where he was like captured and taken into another dimension or something like that, right?
Yeah, that was a creepy episode. It really was. That was a good episode.
A lot of clicking in there too. It's like
they took your arm off and put it back on. Like,
yeah,
what?
That's the one. It's like, yeah, your arm's been severed. You don't know. You didn't remember that. Did you remember that? All right, so then chapter 12 starts, and Lamia is like, where are all my friends going? And the rumors going around that Stanger had they developed a vaccine to this virus, and yet here's Stanger dying of this virus. And so there was a rumor going around the ship that there's a virus that either doesn't work or it's causing a disease. I was like, well, that feels like it's ripped out of today's headlines, doesn't it? Like, the vaccine doesn't work. It's just maybe it's the one thing making you sick. It's like, son of a bitch. But Bones explains, well, he must have contracted the disease before he got the vaccine, is what it was.
Yeah. Now I'm someone who gets a flu shot every year.
Yeah.
And never don't get it.
Yeah.
But that is the same bullshit excuse they use with the flu shot. Because if you get the flu, they're like, oh yeah, you must have got the flu the day before you got the flu shot. Fuck you. But it's what I liked about this part. It's kind of fun to realize that the crew of the Enterprise, as awesome as they are, they still do dumb stuff like gossip.
Gossip. The Devil's Radio. Yeah. Am I right? All right.
Yeah. Shout out to George Harrison. Yeah.
All right. So and it makes it feel real. Again, the good authors, in a 50-minute television episode, sometimes you need your characters to not be flawed, but you can languish on the time of talking about their flaws. They can still be the best and still have flaws, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So then we find out that, by the way, Mbenga is like, hey, Dr. McCoy, did you move Stanger's body? Because we took it down to stasis, and now it's not in stasis, and we don't know where it is. And we're wondering if you moved it.
And here's where I didn't think McCoy was being very true to him. He's like, it's probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It's not.
I don't know if that's what McCoy would say.
It's not like there's such a thing as zombies. Zombies. Who ever heard of zombies? I mean, am I right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, they call Mbenga Jeffrey. Geoffrey.
Didn't like. Actually, I like the name Jeffrey from Mbenga, but someone didn't read any of this stuff before they. What's his name in the show?
Joseph. Now, we can at least theoretically conclude that they're two different guys. I don't think we should conclude that. It's obvious we shouldn't conclude that. But it's Joseph Mbenga. And you haven't gotten to the one episode of Strange New Worlds that really turns Mbenga into something special. I mean, there's one coming up when we finish that season that it just like really gives him a whole like different angle and stuff like that. So
I think I quit watching it when I found out there was a musical episode. I think I just quit watching it. I need to finish that.
You're still a ways away from the musical episode. We're on 6. The episode in question is 7, and the musical episode is 9. So
yeah,
you could probably safely dip your toe back in the water. See if the one episode wins you back over before you got a musical.
Well, we'll have to get back on the Star Trek wagon at some point. But,
well. Meanwhile, after that, Stanger, thought to be dead and in stasis, shows up at Lieutenant Thompson's quarters with a knife, seeming to want to do her harm, or at least maybe harvest some of that blood. And then the door closes, and that's the end of the chapter. We're left to wonder what happened. Well, my guess is that Thompson kicked his ass, is my guess, and I believe that's what happened. Although he seems to have escaped. And nobody's believing him. It's like, yeah, by the way, he showed up at my quarters. I thought he was dead, and he shows up at my quarters. And then they're like, well, and all of a sudden McCoy and Mbenga and one of the other doctors, I can't remember the other doctor's name, but they're all like, holy crap, I wonder if we forgot this thing and that thing. And if if they get up and walk, maybe it's because they're not dead. And, let's go check on Chapel. And so they go down and they do the old yell in her ear, hey, Christine! And there's a little flicker on her brain. They're like, she's still alive. He's alive. He kicked it aside. Let's go. Yeah, I can just imagine that.
And you claim not to like that episode. Come on.
I don't claim not to like that episode. I like that episode. It's just I don't know if that's the finest point the whole episode that one is, but it gets me every time.
It might be the two nerds from the podcast, the Enterprise Institute, didn't like it. That's what it was. Yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah. For me, when he says that line, when Shatner delivers that line, it comes across as a little bit like we're not give her to. It's just kind of the same way of saying it. It's like, hey, we kicked it in the shade, let us know. Yeah, I can be just as good as I used to be. So I don't know. Maybe it's that.
I'll put. Well said.
Maybe it's that. So then Kirk realized that there's a conspiracy led by Admiral Mendez that killed Quince, and now we're going to have to figure out how to defeat it. McCoy reports to Kirk to the bridge. She comes down. Chapel's alive. There's much rejoicing. Uhura high-fives somebody. Actually, I don't know who. They basically show Uhura being excited about finding out Christine's alive and stuff like that. By the way, I read somewhere that was the first interracial kiss on television. Was Chapel kissing Uhura in what is it? What are little girls made of? As she's going down to meet her long-lost love, Dr. Roger Corby, who, by the way, we're going to meet Roger Corby in season 3 of Strange New Worlds. I'm just saying.
That would be an interesting throuple, if you will, to be in Chapel and
yeah,
Uhura.
For sure. There you go.
Oh, only Gene Roddenberry knows for sure.
Yeah. Acquiring minds want to know. I want to know. Okay.
Where's that tell-all book?
So the virus. So this is how they basically discover it from the microbiology point of view, which is the virus requires the victim to get blood to keep surviving. So when blood's not available, it puts the victim into hibernation, until it has access to blood. So that explains why it seems like you're dead. You're just mostly dead. You're not dead, right?
Your life force, if you will, is hanging on, Butch.
That's right. As it were, your life force. All right. Those are space vampires. That's a good thing. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy discuss a Starfleet conspiracy and the Admiral and Adams' potential role. And then they decide maybe it's going to be a race to Tanis. We'll have to see. So Kirk calls Mendez, tells him about the Adams leading them to like there's some hidden part of the base, more stuff. Basically, there's more stuff in Tanis. We're going to go get it. Because he's like laying out the line. He knows that as soon as he says Mendez is going to show up there. Once again, Mendez gets there faster than he does. Did Kirk just say warp factor 4? Why did he say warp factor 8? I don't know. Whatever. Maybe they're closer.
Yeah, I don't know.
and then there's this whole thing where Wen and some other guy are searching for Stanger, and they find Stanger. But then right behind Stanger is Adams, and Adams attacks him wearing the cloak or the cape. I can't remember which one he's wearing. But Stanger saves his friend Lisa by grabbing Adams' head and smacking it against the ground until he stops moving. I was told Karen that's what I would do if some bad guy comes. It's like, and you're trying to hold him down, the guy's trying to get up, you just hit his head against the ground until he stops moving. And hopefully he's only unconscious until the
and then give him a couple more. Yeah,
that's right. Maybe a couple more.
Well, because in my state, in your state, you're probably going to jail. But
that's right. So Kirk lets Adams in on his plan to get over on Mendez, because Adams has been telling Kirk that Mendez is the problem all along, and now Kirk's like, maybe you're right on something. So I don't know what your role in this, he says to Adams, but if we work together, we can get Mendez. And this is
par for Kirk. Kirk always believes the crazy lunatic suspects, always.
Yes.
And he's right to do that. He's got intuition.
Yes, intuition. So Adams tells him that Sepik's body is in a sealed vault down there. Sepik might be the Vulcan that got sick and died from this, and he might have the virus in him, in which case they'd have the R virus. I don't remember from my notes when we learn that Adams himself has a copy of the R virus in this little locket he wears around his neck. I don't
know. This whole Trek Guffin that they're using with the bio, because I'm with you. I like the idea of the bio,
the Trek Guffin
weapon thing, but it really doesn't have shit to do with anything.
That's fair, but science fiction loves its science, and so there you go. So, and that's when we also overhear Wen listening to Stanger. He's like, "No, please, Rosa, don't," because he's unconscious or whatever. We learn, that Stanger lost his job in the Columbia because he was covering for his girlfriend who was sneaking around with a secret forbidden burn phaser or whatever, which they're going to bring back on Star Trek The Next Generation, a burn phaser. It's like a Varieté disruptor. Cool. Varieté disruptor that the guy who tries to collect data has one in his collection. When it shoots you, it vaporizes you, but slowly and from the inside out, kind of thing. So you really
who I pictured for the faithless woman, as it were. Who we only hear anecdotally from.
The Rosa, yes, exactly.
Was Taylor Swift? You fucking bitch.
Cost Rob. I'm still unsure how Taylor Swift making you get there late are you implying that they sold out of Be a Man by Randy Macho Man Savage before you got
they did they had like 5. They got like 5 in,
and people were like Tay, and also what do you suppose the crossover was between people who bought both of those albums?
Well, I'm saying there's such a thing as you go with your friend to wait in line for Taylor Swift's new album.
And your friend buys it.
You see something by the counter. You go, oh. Yeah. Because, I mean to tell you, that record store was cleaned out of everything by the time we got there. And I'm telling you, we would have been like 17th if it wasn't for all the Taylor Swift fans. So nothing that we wanted was still there. So, yeah, I'm blaming Taylor Swift.
So Rob has a vendetta against Taylor Swift, and that's okay. He apparently he doesn't hate her music, but he hates her enough that it doesn't matter. So it's okay because the record store thing that she probably doesn't even know about, but it's still her fault.
And having a concert on the day of a Mariner game when I go down.
Let alone that, yeah. All right, so now let's see. Chapel is awakened, and when she wakes up, finally, Mbenga's there, and she's like, "Oh, it's good to see you, Jeffrey. By the way, where's Dr. McCoy?" And he's like, "Well, that's a fun story because McCoy's back on the planet for the 3rd time." Now just Spock is down there with him. Spock and McCoy are on the planet trying to look for this Vulcan down there. And instead of finding the Vulcan, they find, I can't believe you beat them there again, Admiral Mendez is down there with a couple goons. Yeah, we vaporized the Vulcan's body. That's ain't happening. But we think you have the supply. So we want you. Yeah, so we're going to hold you.
Or we're going to put you on ice if you don't tell us where it is.
That's why we put the bag on you then. Yeah, so it turns out that they get beamed away, though, because the Enterprise is now under attack because the Romulans have showed up and they've attacked the Enterprise, and they've beamed McCoy and Spock up to their ship. which is fun. And Mendez, by the way. So apparently, I don't remember what happened to the security guards. Did the security guards get whacked on their... The answer is...
They got the whack.
Doesn't matter. They got the whack put on them, yes, exactly.
This is where I felt like we were spiraling unnecessarily into a greatest hits.
Exactly. You're exactly right. This is where it starts to lose it a little bit for me. Although the one thing that's going is that it's kind of like the three of them, Spock, McCoy, and Mendez, are kind of like the three-legged stool that they are not willing to work together, except insofar as they got to get off this Romulan ship, right? So the one thing you don't want to be is Admiral Mendez, hater of Romulans, stuck on a Romulan ship with no weapons. So the fun thing is having just watched a Rose by Any Other Name, Spock uses that same Jedi mind trick again on a Romulan guard, putting the idea that Spock is dead, laying in the and it gets so under the Romulan's brain that he goes in and checks on him and gets a VNP for his trouble. Works every time, except when you're doing it against Andromedans, basically, right? So
yeah.
So now,
what was the other episode they did that in? The one with the
yes.
We're not going to kill today.
Yes, The Taste of Armageddon. That's right. It works in that one. Exactly. And in fact, that's the best part about By Any Other Name is that you remember when we were on Amini R7, you used that thing. He totally referenced the previous episodes, and that's not the only time in that episode. There's like 3 references to other episodes in By Any Other Name.
And that is good writing.
Yeah, that. If they'd have been doing that all along, just imagine. I don't know. But anyway, so then we get a briefing room. I know it's the second to last chapter. We get a briefing room scene. Kirk and her and Scotty and Sulu are in the conference room. And they come up with, they got to come up with a plan to get them off the ship and a plan to do it fast. Bones and Spock are armed and moving freely on the Romulan vessel. Their plan is to get the engine room and try and lower the screen so that the Enterprise can beam them off, basically. And then Kirk offers to trade Adams the R virus for Bones, Spock, and Mendez. He says he has the R virus. And the Romulans are like, well, we would probably just kill you and take you. How do we know you would give us all the copies or that we get the actual copy? It's like, well,
that is an excellent point.
An excellent point. So McCoy does some stuff on the Romulan ship. We learn that Mendez is decidedly anti-Romulan. We find out the Romulans killed his wife. You're the one that's been killing my wife, I believe, as he says about the Romulans.
Changing my pick for Mendez. I'm going to say it's Liam Neeson now. Is there anyone in his family that has not been killed by someone?
Hi, I'm a man with a very specific set of skills who's a foot and a half taller than his twin brother. But that's neither here nor there. Liam Neeson would have been great. He's a little tall. He's a bit tall and physically imposing for this role, I think. I'd be worried about, I wouldn't be like pushing him around is what I'm saying. So the Romulans manage, Enterprise is getting shot at, gets hit. They know, and then Scotty says they knew right where to hit us, Captain, which is a line straight out of Star Trek 2. If you're going to do combat stuff, that's all and you'll use one line. We don't get a lot of the 10 pages of like all the space combat, which never works on the page anyway. So I was pleased that they just did a shout out to a line from Star Trek 2 and called it good. And then they get them on the ship, and sure enough, they find out that once they're on the ship in the transport room, Kyle, once again, always the guy who's doing the right thing, is like, by the way, the Admiral's got a phaser and he's pointed it at McCoy and Spock. You better come down, Captain. Yikes, that went south in a hurry. How did that go so wrong? I don't know. But, of course, Adams comes down there and they do the whole, I'm wearing a containment field and I'm going to turn it off and expose you. It's like, no, I'll talk, says Mendez. And they're like, because you don't know he's not infective anymore because we gave him the vaccine a little while ago. So so you were all worried. You gave up for no reason, or whatever. So
you're pretty sneaky. Yeah.
So what do you know? They bluff the bad guy into giving up. I wonder how often that's happened in Star Trek series. Is what I'm saying.
It's been done, but it's still good. I mean, you want your evil villain, especially of this type, to be shitting his pants at the end and being a coward.
I agree. So now we get to the epilogue, having defeated the villains and gotten away. The epilogue: Stanger and Lamia decide to stay in the friend zone. Let's just
the
be friends.
Romulans just wander off. Is that what happened?
I believe so. Yes, maybe they escaped at Warp 10. I don't know.
They went skulking off out of Federation space, deep.
You
in
get
Federation.
nothing. And if you're a man, you're done by now. That's right. So Thompson named Stanger the second in command based on Lisa Wen's recommendation. Good for her. Good for both of them. We get a little send off for a package from Quince. It's Saurian brandy. Nice. And a little armadillo named Yeller. And isn't that nice? And the armadillo has a little vocal message on there for Kirk. And, Adams, and then, Adams will probably plead insanity and get out of his charges, but whatever. So we're setting up a sequel where we're bringing them back, but it's not going to be a sequel. It's fine. So that's kind of a like a tidy wrap up ending, right? It's like this virus, does it still exist? Did they destroy the virus? Is it still out there? Mendez is going to jail, but what did they do with the virus? I don't remember them. Did they destroy the virus? What did they do?
Well, and Kirk was saying stuff like, well, the virus won't be much good to you now because we have a vaccine.
And that's fair.
It still seems like you could do crazy damage with it.
You start with it, and you invest, and you make it, you tweak it a little bit. You start with, but I think that they're pretty confident. Well, now we got the vaccine. It's not that big a deal.
Well, that'd be like saying, go ahead and, do this thing, but you might cause some problems until the vaccine gets there. But whatever. It like I said, I don't think it mattered to the story. The story was Dracula.
Yes.
So the Dracula stuff I thought was well done. This, who's going to get, charged with what and who went where and all that was just like, oh shit, we got to tie up these plot points, but they weren't really, germane to the actual story, which was the characters, the Stanger, Lamia, and Wen, and making it plausible that you have a vampire loose on the Enterprise, which was plausible, and I like how they did that. The ending shit, if I lost the last two chapters by being careless with my cigar, I don't think it would make any difference to the book.
That's fair. Huh. Well, so having wrapped this story up, then like I said, I thought it was better than it got better as it went, which has happened with a couple books. Ishmael really got better as it went. I thought this got a little bit better. I don't think this is as good as Ishmael, but that's okay. No. So I had this.
How'd you have it?
I had it at 15, just below Corona and just above the Final Reflection.
I also have it just above the Final Reflection and just below Killing Time.
Oh, interesting.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below it. So I guess I must have it at 14.
Well, we're very, very close. You have it at 14. I have it at 15. So that feels like it was meant to be then.
Yeah.
And with that, you know what it means. You know what time it is, don't you? It's time to roll the dice and find out what we're doing next. As you know, the dice decide all. As I mentioned,
and I don't remember where I put Chain of Attack. We read Chain of Attack, right?
Yeah, Chain of Attack. I'll tell you where
Which one was that?
Chain of Attack is the one where they go to the other galaxy.
Yeah, that one was okay. I don't know. I probably like this one. Maybe I don't know. Chain of Attack was pretty good. I don't know.
Sometimes it's difficult to unless you do like a long kind of like thinking process about pros and cons and stuff like that. But anyway, so meanwhile, while you're thinking, Killing Time was the one where the Romulans are using time travel to alter, where they create like the weak, like drug addicted Lieutenant Kirk instead of yeah. And it's
I'll put Chain of Attack above that one.
There you go.
Just so that I have it placed somewhere.
Fair enough.
Because it keeps throwing my count off.
All right. So now I've got the dice. We're going to see what's next. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Oh, it is.
By the way, I want to do a plug for a crossover for tonight's episode as a special treat to our listeners. I say we give our Tyson Paul preview pick tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so I rolled number 1, Rob. A 2 on the 20 dice and a 1 on the 10 dice. You know what that means?
I have no idea.
Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Oh.
Is number 21. That'll be the next book in our series. When next we read, it'll be Star Trek the Motion Picture.
It's going to be Sex, Coaches, and Troubles, like I said. All right.
Written by Gene Roddenberry himself. The great bird himself wrote that book. So that'll be the next novel. So, meanwhile, are we picking this fight now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, so as a way to lure you into our other thing you never listen to, which is the boxing episodes. Yeah, there's a big fight tomorrow, if you want to call it that.
Oh, it's big, question mark. Yeah, so I don't know what else is going to go on, but here's what I think about this fight. This is what I'm hoping, Rob. So Tyson is roughly the same age now as Holyfield was when he fought his last fight against a guy who was younger than him. A better fighter, but an older guy, right? A guy in his 40s instead of a guy in his 20s, but a better fighter.
UFC champion. And Evander took that fight on 1 week's notice, which I don't know if is a good idea when you're 50.
Well, the results say it was not a good idea. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what I don't want is Tyson to look better at 58 than Holyfield looked at 58. So part of me is like, I need Tyson to lose this fight. I don't think it's going to happen, but I can see it happening, right? Because it's like, that's the one thing you can think you're prepared for. But when you get hit in the head with a legit power punch, does your brain have the ability to stay awake or not? And Holyfield found out the hard way that he didn't, right? That he was especially susceptible to getting hit in the head and going down.
I think Holyfield was just kind of getting swarmed, and he's used to weathering those storms and then fighting back, and the storm just didn't subside, and the ref stopped it because he's 58, which is probably the right call. But I don't know that it's not like Evander was not cold or anything.
Yeah, that's fair. So
I think one thing that's going to make it where a knockout's going to be tough is they're using 14-ounce gloves, not 10-ounce.
Yeah.
So what I think will happen, I think Tyson's not going to be able to knock Paul out in the first round, which he has to do.
Yeah.
And even with it being 2-minute rounds, I think the fact that, what's Paul, 27?
Something like that, 28, I think.
And while he's not like a world-class boxer by any stretch, he has had some fights, he has stamina, and he's strong. I think he's going to win a decision over Tyson because I think Tyson's going to fade pretty fast. He's 58. And he smokes pot like it's an Olympic sport.
I think in a perfect world, the fans don't want to see Tyson get knocked out, right? So they could see him losing a decision, but they don't want to see him get knocked out.
And I think so. I mean, I think this will be the most watched fight because of the platform it's on and the curiosity factor. And I hate that this is going to be such a, because boxing is a wonderful sport, and we're going to have Usyk Fury 2 next month that probably won't have 5% of the audience that this travesty has.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like a sideshow, like McGregor and Mayweather.
Oh, it's way more of a sideshow than that. I mean, that's the thing. Both those guys were still active fighters in different sports. But
Tyson and Paul are going to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, and for what they are, McGregor is an elite fighter in his area, and Jake Paul is like a what do you call it? Just
a dude,
some dude, bro. I will say this. Did you see the pictures of the weigh-in?
No.
Tyson's carrying a lot of weight, right?
I don't.
Holyfield only had like 10 days to get ready for that fight he was in, but Holyfield was in way better shape. Now they're saying, but Tyson's still fast and all that stuff, and I was like, might be fast, but he can't stay fast for long. He'll get slow in a hurry.
I thought Tyson did fine against Jones. I thought he won that exhibition.
Yeah, I did too.
But this is, yeah, I think everybody's forgetting, like, this guy was a shell of himself by like 2004.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago.
Yep. So like I said,
it's not Tyson Spinks here. It's going to be, it's like, can a reasonably halfway decent 28-year-old beat Tyson? I think yes. We'll see.
I think Tyson definitely has a puncher's chance, right? If he's not a good enough defender, yeah. If Tyson can use some of his, like, quick movement in that first 2 minutes, especially, if he can land a good one in the first 2 minutes, he probably still has knockout power. Although he might not. I can tell you, I don't know what you have to take in order to stay as strong at 50. I'm 54, about to turn 55, and I'm nowhere near as strong as I was before.
If it was a 54-year-old George Foreman, I would say he can knock him out. I don't know about Tyson knocking him out. I mean, he can, but I think he's got one round to do it.
Yeah.
And
so
otherwise,
my official prediction, I think, I'm going to predict Paul will knock him out in the third round.
Do you think it'll be a knockout, like he catches him, or he just kind of overwhelms him with punches and the ref jumps in?
Probably the overwhelm thing. I think maybe a knockdown and then an overwhelm. I think maybe it'll be. So
what's funny is we'll both watch it.
Yep, may as well. What else we got to do? That's tomorrow, right? It's tomorrow. So
yeah, and so, I mean, it's kind of fun. I wish it would have been Holyfield Tyson 3 because I think Evander could roll out of bed till the day he dies and beat Tyson, but instead of getting a big payday and riding off in the sunset, Evander will watch as Jake Paul and Tyson.
That's right.
Take all the world's money, but whatever.
With all that said, you'll have to maybe we'll do an episode where we do the results of this fight. We'll see. Maybe we'll be too disgusted by the output to even show our faces over it. But regardless, for Star Trek, the next time you see us, we'll be talking about one of the most underrated films in the history of films. Star Trek the Motion Picture, the novel.
And one of the most underrated trilogies we never got, Kirk Tracy 3. I would have paid to see that.
That's right. Kirk finally gets the eye of the tiger, or the eye of the yang, or whatever, I guess as it were.
Well, Kirk would have found a way in the trilogy fight, but boy, he got his ass handed to him in the first two.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. All right. So with that faithful viewer, listener, stick with us next time here on Is That a Trek in Your Pocket? And also Saturday Night Fights.